Now, one of the legal issues here, Sal, is the amendment to the Sex Discrimination Act passed, ironically, under Julia Gillard as Prime Minister and Mark Dreyfus as Attorney General in 2013. Now, those amendments to the Australian Sex Discrimination Act made it illegal to discriminate against anyone on the basis of gender identity. Previously, it had been race and sexuality and so on. They introduced this new one, gender identity. Back then, it was like, oh, who cares? I mean, Mark Dreyfus and Julia Gillard obviously knew something we didn't, because now this is an issue. But back then, you could pass that kind of law without anyone really raising an eyebrow. But this is the legal contention here, is that this clearly contradicts the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Now, that's a UN resolution to which Australia signed up, I think, in the 70s. Now, Sal, is it possible for those two legal concepts to coexist, that you can't discriminate against someone on their according to their identity, and you must legislate against discrimination against women? Are they mutually exclusive?
No, this literally doesn't work. As the trans activists will be the first to tell you, sex and gender are different. And I'm always saying, I completely and utterly agree with you. It's one of the reasons why gender should not be in the Sex Discrimination Act. If you want to have something in law to stop gender identity discrimination, okay, but you have to then look at whether it's needed, because what gender identity discrimination could be there to stop, for example, if you had a man who is wearing women's clothing going to work, and say there was a situation where he was like, well, this is not allowed, this is gender identity discrimination. It could be very well argued he's being discriminated on the basis of his sex, because the reason they're having a problem with him wearing that is because his sex is male. So you go like, do you need gender identity discrimination? I mean, I haven't gone through all of the different legislation possibilities, but that's what legislators are supposed to do. And they didn't do that here. And that's one of the
exactly
problems.
Right.
Because if you'd sat there and gone, what are all of the issues here? I mean, it takes seconds to go, oh, hang on, we're going to have male rapists in women's prisons based on their gender identity.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they didn't do that means that you have to take it out and rework the laws. I'm all for the law working for everybody, but at the moment it's
okay,
not.
well, let's talk about that. I mean, as I said, very, as simply as possible, the issue here is whose rights prevail? A man who thinks he's a woman or a woman? It really does boil down to something as simple as that, doesn't it?
100%.